Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining the webinar. Dan, really appreciate you help coming on today.
Bo, it's great to be here. Always great to be talking with you.
Yeah, likewise. And of course, we've waxed on and off a million times in regards to VP of sales and, to outsource or not to outsource. And I think this is extremely topical right now. And quite frankly, outsourced VP of sales has really taken off in regards to just adaptability. And, folks are really kind of understanding this could be a viable option for their organization.
Yeah, it certainly has, especially the last couple of years with that definition of the fractional VP or the outsourced VP has become a lot more familiar to people. Sales consulting's obviously been around for a long time, but it's really that definition of the fractional VP and the evolution of the mindset that the VP doesn't necessarily have to be there full time in order to deliver results for a company. And I'm looking forward to talking about that today.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too. I started my company about 4 years ago with a big focus around fractional, and honestly, I felt that maybe I was too early. And I feel like COVID has been, part of the catalyst for people really starting to understand that there's a different option out there for companies, and fractional is one of it. And so I feel like we're finally at a good point where not only, of course, we understand, but the community at large is beginning to understand that there is options outside of the typical 40-hour a week work scenario.
Yeah, for sure. Like that outsourced, the fractional terminology is relatively newer to us as well. I mean, we've been in the sales consulting business for nearly 7 years now. And it definitely went from sales consulting and evolved over the last couple of years, but we definitely now seen that language fractional VP coming into people's requests. They're looking for it, they're searching for it, they're getting referred to fractional VPs who've done projects. And so it's a great time to be helping people out. And we set out with a mission to help 1,000 businesses get to the next level before the end of 2025. And so it's certainly one of the ways in which we can help.
Also, I think that's a good segue. And prior to doing so, a quick shameless plug. So this webinar is sponsored by the Free Agent, and it's my organization, of course. We partner with high growth tech companies, providing executive level resources that can help them continue to scale. And we do that on an interim, fractional, or full-time basis. So jumping into this, Dan, we've had a million conversations about this. Your passion shows through. Would love to just kind of, understand a little bit more about you and how'd you get into this type of work?
Yeah, okay. So I'm originally from the UK and got into sales after studying business and ended up working with a very large bank and found out quite quickly, that the large bank atmosphere was slower moving than I kind of wanted it to be.
Sure.
And so I made the decision to go and work with smaller companies and ended up working with a couple of really, really outstanding entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in a digital agency that ended up having a $100 million value exit in the mid noughties. Then ended up working with a content marketing agency that was really building out very, very quickly in the UK. We did some very innovative stuff with digital signage. These entrepreneurs then, when the global financial crisis hit, gave me the opportunity to come across to the United States in 08, 09, which is obviously a very interesting time.
To travel and, pick up in a new location.
Yeah, exactly. It was, like here's a playbook that has worked well. Let's go and see what the US market, how well they respond to this. And so worked again with this same team of investors. And I think that's the trend for me. It's working with investors, working with entrepreneurs, working with people who've got a big vision and need to put the building blocks in place to get there. And so with that company, we had some great success. We got to number 61 on the Inc. list. And then I spun another company out of that for them, built that, and then went to go and work with some SaaS companies in New York City. And so it's really been about working with people who've got the vision and they want some support and resources to get there. And when I left the world of W2, I went out searching for people who had the problems that I knew how to solve, which is how to get deals across the line, how to identify the right customer, and so on. So that's really what got me into the world of consulting. And this fractional VP and the fractional executive piece has really evolved over the last couple of years.
Sure.
But as you mentioned, especially during COVID, so many businesses recognized that they needed outside perspective and quickly to help them make that pivot, whatever pivot was going to look like for them. and then to be there hand in glove with them and actually execute. And so, we had a very busy last couple of years helping companies make the right decisions in most cases, and helping them out of some problems in others. And it's definitely been a defining time for us.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you kind of fell into this role, but it could have been a better fit. You're kind of searching for what you've done previously and realize, hey, I could create a business around this, and really put my skill set to use and help organizations. So that's exciting. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, the best part was when I did an exercise a couple of years ago to define the mission, which is to help 1,000 companies get to the next level before the end of 25. That point, you stop being able to do it all yourself and you start building a business and doing it in a more interesting, structured way. And we've been evolving ever since.
Awesome. Great point. Well, let's jump into the blocking and tackling here. So, in regards to this outsourced VP of sales, how would a company identify when it's time to maybe engage someone like yourself? Because I feel like there's a big misnomer that most people think, oh, I just need to go out and hire a full-time resource. And frankly, a lot of times that's the wrong idea. So when will a company really kind of be able to identify to engage somebody like yourself to help them out?
Yeah, so most of the companies that we work with are, they're doing between 250,000 a year and 20, $30 million annual revenue. They're not enormous companies. They don't have limitless resources to throw additional teams at various different things. And the most regular things that we hear are that they've had flat sales for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
or that sales are actually declining and they don't have control. Like they're not sure why, and they want to get some additional perspective to help them work out what's gone wrong. Another one is that they want to expand, and they have tapped out the initial resources they've got available,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not yet in a position to invest with a full-time VP of sales, which might be 400,000 a year. They're not ready to do that yet. Another, they've tried hiring sales leadership multiple times and it's a revolving door. Something's not right. And so if they are recognizing that they have those sorts of problems,
Mm-hmm.
then there is outside perspective that's available. So,
I totally agree. You hit the nail on the head there. In fact, we do similar work, and I'd say the catalyst for bringing in an outsourced VP of sales is really what you mentioned. Sales have declined, or flatlined, or they're just not moving in the right direction. Period. For some period of time, or they continue to kind of have a revolving door in regards to sales personnel. At that point, that's some warning signs. And if you're encountering that, it's time to maybe take a look under the hood, because there may be a bigger issue here, and it could be a look in the mirror. Maybe maybe what's warranted.
yeah. And, businesses that have been around for a while are being forced into situations where they need to evolve faster than ever before. If you look at the amount of technology that's in the sales department now versus what it was a few years ago, the amount of technology that sales and marketing now share with lots of automation and lots of different prospecting tools, reporting tools, data augmentation tools,
Inundated. Too much.
call recording platforms, all these things. And if the sales leader or the executive leadership haven't kept up with that,
Mhm.
then the business may be getting left behind by their competitors. And even something as simple as LinkedIn
Right.
is, if a long time now, it hasn't just been a professional connections network, it's been a really hardcore part of the prospecting
Mhm.
toolkit. And so, just one example of things that people need to potentially bring in some outside eyes to master and integrate.
I agree. And again, as a small business owner myself, I have too much software. I'm inundated with salespeople, and I myself need somebody to kind of help make sense of the world that's out there, because quite frankly, it's information overload.
Yeah.
So kind of getting into the brass tacks here. So when you think of a fractional resource, that could be some fraction of a work week is really kind of how I sum it up, right? 10, 20, 30 hours, whatever that engagement is. How many hours do you really think are needed from somebody such as yourself to be effective in a fractional capacity? Can you kind of provide a little bit of color there?
Yeah, sure. So we look at it in a couple of different ways. So there's an advisory opportunity to advise an executive leadership group, and you could do that even just a couple of hours a month having a really deep discussion to help them understand what the next steps could be, helping them think some stuff through, there's great value there. That's an advisory capacity. When you're talking about a fractional VP, you're talking about somebody who's got regular meetings scheduled on the calendar. They may be running the sales meeting. They're definitely having an executive strategy meeting regularly.
Mhm.
They might be touching each of the sales people in terms of running a pipeline conversation or helping them with coaching or training. And they're the variables.
Sure.
So the number of people on the sales team that you're going to support as a fractional VP obviously affects the amount of engagement time that you need to have, and also how big of a change the business needs to go through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we find a lot of the time that an initial block of tens of hours within the first couple of months is usually good to get a good context, review, refine, look at things.
Mhm.
And then as you begin to implement and actually work that through with the team, how responsive is the team is one of the variables there. So, from a couple of hours a month to 10 to 20 hours per week is the typical range that we see. Of course, it depends on the business.
I think it's a great response, and I totally agree. I mean, the answer is it depends, and that's what makes fractional piece so tough. Is because ultimately you need to make sure that all parties are on the same page in regards to kind of how much time is needed and the expected output, and it's
Yeah.
very important to kind of make sure that those expectations are set clearly on the front end as to kind of what you can accomplish as to what you cannot. And you also need to continue to iterate, right? I mean, maybe it's a biweekly touch point, maybe it's once a month, whatever that cadence is, but you need to continuously stay engaged to ensure that you're maximizing your hours and the customer's getting what they expect. And if not, then there needs to be some tweaking and some fine tuning, and that happens naturally along the way when you're in these types of engagements.
Yeah, and we often agree to have a deliverable of, for example, an updated sales handbook that people can point their finger at and say, here's something where we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. We've
Absolutely.
got a description, we've got workflows drawn out of what we're supposed to be doing, and then everyone's got a reference point there. Just makes it easier, because our ultimate goal is to help a company get to the point where they can replace us with somebody that's going to be there for 5 or 7 years. And
Totally.
that's a great goal.
My mantra.
Yeah, make ourselves replaceable.
Yeah, agreed. So we talked about the hourly commitment, et cetera. How would you structure an engagement? Such as the fractional VP of sales.
Yeah, so we do things a bit uniquely. The basic bones of a great engagement, it's a sales engagement after all. So understanding the goals that the company has and discussing those upfront is vital. Where do they need to be from a revenue perspective? Do they need to be somewhere specific from a profitability perspective? Is there a particular timeline they need to be working toward? Is that realistic with where they are at the moment?
Right.
They're things that need to be discussed up front. Deliverables such as a sales handbook, maybe they're doing personas, maybe they're doing a CRM evaluation, maybe they're doing XYZ as part of the engagement. All needs to be documented out. But what we do is a bit different. We have like a bronze, silver, gold setup. And most businesses will start off at the bronze level. We'll do our discovery and review and quickly build out, refine, and roll out. And then as we begin to take over more things as the business grows and they add more people, it's a flexible way of growing and keeping the commitment financially and from a contract perspective low, because we believe in delivering value
Sure.
week in, week out, month in, month out. And if we're not, then we should be just as easy to move on from as anybody else. And so that's how we think about it. There is often a performance incentive involved because we're talking about career sales leaders.
Success fees, if that's something that you guys implement, or if it's just too tough.
Depends on the project, right? And sometimes it's a milestone where we've agreed we get to a milestone and that's valuable to the company. Other times it's a percentage of something that we need to achieve. Otherwise, it's there's a few different ways that you can look at it. But if you're going to bring in somebody who's a career sales leader,
Right.
who is experienced at being motivated by those sorts of
There's gonna
incentive
be an
plans,
expectation.
then it can be a meaningful thing to build in.
Yeah. So bottom line is, in regards to kind of your rate structure, it's more of a flat rate per month that you can build upon as your involvement increases, et cetera. Correct?
That's right. Very transparent, and we never go from one billing rate to the one bronze to silver without giving a lot of heads up in advance, so everybody knows where they are, and then we can throttle appropriately to make sure it remains affordable for the business. But if we go into a business and we're 5xing the revenue, the result is going to be massive, and they're getting a high ROI from it, and everybody's happy. So that's really where we're trying to shoot for, is helping businesses accelerate and actually grow. So any work that we're putting in has a huge ROI.
Sales cures all. Isn't that what they say?
Pipeline solves all problems.
Yeah, exactly. So a typical engagement, right? Just kind of get a little bit deeper. What will that look like from your perspective, from inception to end? Like, where would you begin? And obviously, you're going to begin with some sort of assessment, health check, whatever you want to phrase it, some sort of discovery session. But really, from kind of that jumping off point, what will an actual engagement look like?
Yeah, so we go through 4 stages. The first one is review, which we can very quickly, we send a data request to the client to have them send us a whole lot of information, easy to access stuff, things like accessing the CRM, accessing their analytics, giving us access to calls recordings, those sorts of things, so that we can run assessments. We'll listen to and grade meetings in terms of whether each part of a component sales process is present, so we know whether there's a training need straight away. We'll look at documentation, we'll look at how well targeted their marketing materials are to who they've told us they want to reach out to. That's really quick. We can get that done very quickly, which enables us to go, here's our first recommendations. So we refine and recommend. Then we'll roll those out to the team. So that's communicating, training sessions, those sorts of things. So all of this is happening towards the end of the first month into the second month, where we're really getting in quickly and delivering recommendations and roll out value, and then repeat, right? It's an agile process, making a business more efficient. So refine, roll out, repeat is where we stay until the business is really beginning to thrive, which can take a few months. But we're on month-to-month contracts all the way through, right? So if somebody doesn't like how we're delivering it or what we're doing, we don't have this problem, but
Yeah.
they know that there's no risk, just like there would be with a sales leader. So we like it that way because it keeps everybody aligned. And then the final stage, when they're ready, when they've got to a revenue point where it's sustainable to actually bring in a full-time leader or promote somebody, then we'll work with them on replacing ourselves and onboarding that person.
So bottom line, net anywhere from say a month to 6 months plus, probably each engagement lasting less than a year, though. Is that a fair?
No, often our engagements last a lot longer than that, because we're taking businesses from a couple of $100,000 or early $1 million revenue further up into the 5, 6, $10 million range, and that can take time. And so just going from 250 to 1.25 in a year, enormous 5x growth, right? But that took a year, and they're not ready yet to invest in a full-time VP of sales, and that the revenue won't yet sustain somebody full-time. So we're going to help them get to the next level, but we're doing it at a very affordable rate. And that's one of the great things about a fractional VP, is that they retain perspective from working on a couple of different accounts at the same time while delivering value. So yeah, there's a lot you can do in 3 months if you've got an existing team who just wants to polish up what they're doing or review the way they're doing things. Yes, can do that. But more typical fractional VP actually ends up being a longer engagement, where you're a much more tactical part of their organization for longer, because it's so cost efficient.
Agreed. And trusted advisor. So I think that the next obvious question is, so that's great. You guys have been involved for some point. You've about worked yourself out of a job. But how do you know, or how's an organization know when it's time to essentially kind of maybe pivot from a fractional engagement and bring on somebody full time within the organization that will then take ownership and run the team?
Yeah, so quite often you've got 2 options at that point, right? So you've either been developing somebody who wants to be on that management track internally, who is, been watching and learning and being coached over time to take on that responsibility. And sometimes that makes it possible to do things a little bit earlier, because that person is often requires less investment than bringing somebody in from the external market, and has a shorter learning curve as well. And if they've had the benefit of having the management oversight and structure for all the meetings, and they've seen how to run them from working alongside us, then that can happen relatively quicker. If the organization wants to get to a point where they can sustain a 400K salary and bring in somebody external, then they've got to get to that revenue point first, whatever that is, the way that they're calculating it, right? And so they're the 2 things. They may just have somebody who's naturally on a promotion path, but they just need some executive time back to work on strategy. So they plug in a fractional VP to take time off of the executive and actually steadily develop the person who's already in the team. And that can be one good way of doing it. And other is to stay with it until they've got a team that's built out and trained, and then they can actually go, here's our systems, it all works. Let's bring in somebody who's going to take it to the next level, to the next few million, and they've done that phase before.
I guess part of your role too, though, you'd be in a position to really kind of help a company identify when that point is.
Yeah. Right? So ultimately, we want to be able to hand off and replace ourselves and leave behind a really successful team so that we can get on and get to the 1,000 businesses that we want to help by the end of 25, right? It's really not just a case of like, let's just find a couple of clients and stay with them for 5 years, because that doesn't get us to that 1,000 number. We want to help them grow at the pace they want to grow at. And like when they get to that point, it's a really great idea and a really great part of it to be able to go, right, let's bring in somebody and help them get, the business is already running well. They're obviously going to come in and bring their own magic to it. So that's it's a good fun part of the
Oh, totally. I love making money, but I actually really enjoy doing good work, right? And so when I can leave an organization or kind of move on to the next, it's a good feeling that kind of mission accomplished.
Yeah,
did good work. It also it's a good referral source for you in the future. But that's a topic for today, right? So you've talked about
it's always a good one.
Yeah, exactly. So you talked about teams here, and so question for you is, can an outsourced VP of sales really take ownership of an organization's sales team? Now, granted, to kind of like set the stage here, I would imagine majority of the time you're kind of being parachuted in or plugged in, where maybe there's one salesperson, 2 salespeople, maybe upwards of 8, kind of probably max, right? I would imagine if you hit 6 or 8, then maybe you should look kind of to hire somebody full time. But can an outsourced VP, I mean, have you seen that be successful with an outsourced VP of sales really kind of taking ownership of the sales team, or is that you kind of too far removed from the core of the business?
No, we've done it each of those ways. It really just depends on what the natural propensity of the leadership team is. Like, do they want some support in getting to the next level and remain with the oversight day to day and be able to do their own check-ins with the sales team and have that strategic guidance and somebody providing training and coaching? That's a great engagement. It's a great way of supporting an existing team. We definitely have taken over and run sales teams of multiple people before, where we've got an agreed schedule of reviewing calls and running the sales meeting and managing the pipeline reporting and all those sorts of things. Because this is what we've done for years and years, right? Each of the VPs we bring into the project have all run multiple sales teams. So it's bread and butter to them to get in and run the process once it exists. So they absolutely can do that. And especially if the ownership team recognizes that they've got to this level, but the sales leadership and the coaching and the pipeline conversations and all those sorts of things are not where they want to spend their time, then actually bringing in a fractional VP who thrives at doing that and can bring a lot of value alongside the founder, who might be more technical or more creative or more involved in fundraising than they are involved in the sales pipeline conversations, for example. They can never lose touch with it, obviously. But yes, that can work. But it's much more common to bring in to support an executive team and take some of the stuff off them while they retain ownership, so that you can plug in a lot of resources to help them get stuff done, point things out that they might not be able to see, help them see between the lines, make recommendations, and then hand them tasks that they're going to fill in before the next touch point.
I totally agree. I mean, if you look at organizations, a lot of times the sales silo is what lacks. It's hard to find a really, really dynamic sales leader that understands the operations, the tactical work, also how to lead a team, and then kind of interface in with the executive team. And so I've seen a lot of success with this model in particular, where maybe a company's got 3 or 4 of those silos with strong leaders, but the sales one's lacking. And so you can kind of plug in an individual within that silo to interface with the executive team and get the sales function moving, eventually replace yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with one of our team this morning, and he was pointing out that a lot of businesses will invest very, very heavily in marketing, in technology, and all sorts of different and they'll sell a dream of what the product can do to an investor. But then they don't make the same level of investment in developing the sales organization because they think the product can sell itself.
Well, it's easy as well. Don't forget that.
Right. Well, it should look easy.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems with it, right? Like, but then they underinvest with the sales organization, and then they run into this churn problem, and they don't give that person the support that they need. So an objective fractional VP can come in and can create that space for themselves because they're an advisor that is not
Really?
in any way associated with anything other than the success of the project. There's no politics in there. It's like, let's just help, let's get people to where they need to be. And we find a lot of value in that, being able to remain very objective and
Totally.
have that direct line of communication across the business. There's a lot that you can do in a small business very quickly when you've got the attention of all of the stakeholders like that, and you can really make a positive move very quickly.
Agreed. And also too, like, you're laser focused on your task, right? You're not involved in the greater good of the business, which of course is important, but your focus is one focus, and that's kind of getting that sales engine, working the way that it should.
Yeah, and if you come in and you understand that a sales organization requires the fuel of lead generation and requires the process of developed step-by-step sales process where everybody knows the entry and exit criteria and knows how to hand that off to the customer success team, whoever they may be, if you just nail that process and then pour fuel on it, the business will grow significantly off the back of that. But you've got to tune it to the right people. And somebody who's done that multiple times before can make it sound easy and talk about it in 45 seconds.
Sure.
But somebody who hasn't done that before goes, okay, I'm going to come in and sell a lot myself and then get other people to do what I've done. And that just takes longer, right? If you come in and know how to build the machine and you just slot it in, that's how you can get the thing to accelerate much faster.
I totally agree. And just two more questions here that I think this is a good follow-up. So, and then of course, this is a role that my organization would play, that we help vet individuals and sales leaders, et cetera. That being said, for small organization out there that's looking to maybe hire somebody like yourself, what qualities should they look for within this individual, and how could they maybe vet somebody themselves just to determine quality of fit?
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation an hour ago with a business out of London that's looking to bring in a fractional person, but not a fractional VP of sales. They're looking at a fractional executive outside of that. What we talked about was a scorecard. And a scorecard like we use when we're talking to potential VPs has at least 6 criteria on it that we grade. There's a bigger scorecard that has many more criteria for the next interview. But if they can just get clear what their scorecard looks like, and if they don't have one, the basics are the business stage experience, the sales cycle experience, and the culture fit. Like, are you actually going to enjoy working with this person?
Yeah.
They need to be able to challenge you, but professionally.
Totally
and
agree.
you're actually going to enjoy working with this person, because this is a big deal. It's a very highly leveraged project, and you've got to believe that you're going to enjoy working with that person.
I totally agree. And I think, of course, skill set background is important, but soft skills and being able to interface and interact with this individual, I'd say, is almost more important than the aforementioned, specifically because you need to have trust with this individual. It's almost like a psychologist, right? Where there's, no stone left unturned. You provide, you share all your secrets with them. You must be honest. And in order to do that, though, you need to make sure that, from a sheer personality perspective, this is somebody that you believe you can trust and work with in the future. And it's a critical component to whether or not this is going to work out.
Right. And, both sides need to be looking out for each other, that they're not entering into a project that would require, absolute magic in order to work, right? It's got to make sense that you're going to do this together, and that you're bringing in somebody who can give you the context of when they've done this before and how it works out and what went wrong,
right?
So that you can avoid it again. And so you're having conversations with people, you're thinking about bringing somebody in, make sure to ask them about the things that didn't go well and what they did about it, as much as you ask them about the things that they can do, because that's a big filter.
And if their response is, well, nothing's gone wrong, then, not the right person.
Yeah, right. You got to have a degree of humility to be able to work out what your problems were.
So Dan, this was great. So how can people find you?
Yeah, so our website is mindracerconsulting.com. You can find me easily on LinkedIn. Just search for Dan Morris and Mind Racer. We'll find very easily. Or if you'd like to email me directly, you guys can email dan@mindracerconsulting.com. Always happy to have top level conversation, help people understand what this looks like if they're thinking about doing it. And we do actually offer a free 45-minute initial consultation to people who do have a need. And we find that helps out a lot, because whether they work with us or not, we're always happy to add value. We want to help 1,000 businesses get to the next level. So
that's my final question. How are you trending towards your goal of 1,000 businesses by 2025?
we are well over 100, and we're trending into a bunch of different workshops. So we're working with accelerators. There's a lot more stuff going on in 21, and we are bringing in
too. It's kind of like the first or the hardest, and then you kind of gets momentum, and it gets a hell of a lot easier.
Absolutely. And as you know, we're bringing in additional fractional VPs, and we're interviewing people all the time so that we can do that. We've got, it's exciting. There's a lot of people that we're helping at the moment, and we're trending all right.
We're doing this. It's all about education. It's all about education, right? People need to understand there is a different way. There is a better way. And it's all about a retrospective and understanding what's going to work best for your business. What are your, time constraints? How much monetary constraints? These are all considerations, and who knows? Maybe a VP of sales is right around the corner and going to be able to kind of help you get to the next level.
Yeah, it's a constantly learning process, and if you stop looking around and you stop looking in the mirrors, your sales team's going to go backwards. And so, one of the things that we love is consistently learning whatever's new, what tools are out there, but also focusing on the basics. And so if we can just get people's attention to continuously learning from what working in their industry and with people like them, then the results are often apparent. And so excited to have that conversation. Bo, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you very much.
Likewise, Dan. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Till next time.
Cheers.